Hello, my beautiful friends. I am so excited that you are here with me. Welcome. If you are new to the channel, welcome. If you're coming back to the channel, welcome back. Um, Today we're going to read some runes, but before we do that, we're going to just talk about some things that I've been thinking about. So here where I live, it is autumn. October is the changing of the seasons. So we go from that vibrancy of summer and we transition into winter. And for those of us who celebrate the Celtic wheel of the year, we're moving into the Samhain season. So we're closer and closer to that Celtic New Year, that rebirth. And so the veil between this world and the other world is getting thinner and thinner as we approach Samhain. And I was thinking today about Robert Frost and if you're familiar with his poem, The Road Not Taken, right? So I'm going to read this poem to you and I'll link it below so that you have it. Because, we hear it quoted a lot, but we don't often think about the words of it. And I'm an English professor, so, this is a poem that has been read many times by many folks, but two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler. Long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I ever should come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So you might be familiar with this poem, but the reason I like this poem is that he wanted to go down both, right? So in our life, in our journey, if you're familiar with the channel, you know that I'm a hiker. So I do long distance hiking, I do short hikes, but when you plan a hike, you have a map and you decide here's where I'm going to start and here's where I'm going to end. And if it's something like the Appalachian Trail, which is the trail that I live on and I'm very passionate about and do a lot of things with, you know that there are blue blazes off that trail. So there are opportunities to see other things. You can do other things, and sometimes we confuse the path with the blue blazes, and we think we go on a blue blaze and we forget that that's not actually the trail. That's a path. That you can go to a vista. You can go to, some kind of water feature like a waterfall. Around here, you can go to a beaver dam, right? There are all different places that those blue blazes take you. And, sometimes you work really hard and then you get up to the vista and it's just foggy. You don't see anything, right? So is it the traveling or is it the end terminus? What is the thing that means the most? And what I love about this Frost poem is that he starts off and he's like, I want to do both of them. And I'm looking, which one's better? Well, that one people went down before, so they've seen what's down there, so maybe they could tell me about it. This one doesn't look like a lot of people have been down it, so maybe I'll take that one, because then I'll be able to tell people about it. I could always come back and do the other one, but am I really going to come back and, do this other one? Probably not. So, I'm gonna take this one that nobody's done before, and I'm gonna do that one because I'll be the first. I just love that idea of being the first, like forging, knowing what the trail is, kind of like looking at them both and then choosing based on your heart, right? So Robert Frost chooses the trail that he picks based on his heart, and it makes all the difference. And so when I think about our journey through this physical life, we have so many opportunities to pick different paths. We have to remember what our main hike is. What is the actual trail that we're hiking? Is it the Appalachian Trail? Is it the, Pacific Crest Trail? Which trail is it? Where is the start and where is the stop? And then the blue blazes that we choose, whether they're relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, different places that you work, different clubs that you belong to, different causes that you champion, right? Those are blue blazes off of that main trail. So what is that main trail, right? That's the substance of you. That is who you are. That is the person that you are, the person that you want to be. And all of our experiences make us up to be the people that we are. And all of us make great choices. Sometimes we make less than great choices, but everything that we do is a lesson from spirit. Nothing is an accident, nothing is a coincidence. And so, as you're thinking about your journey, and maybe you're at a crossroads right now, maybe this message resonates with you. I would love to know in the comments below if it does. Think about what's your trail? What trail are you on? Where's the stop? What's the terminus? What do you want at the end? And what's the blue blaze? What's the side trails? What are the side trails? And if you're not on a good side trail, how do you get back to the main trail? How do you get back to that central path, so that you can keep going on and finding new blue blazes, right? So anyway, I was just thinking about that today, and I was journaling, and I was thinking about transitions in life, and as you get older, I'm middle-aged now. I used to be young, right? I used to be the young buck. I started my career very early, very young. And now I'm middle-aged now. So, I look at things differently. I see the competitive nature of people around me. People, social media has, prompted us to be very witty in short amount of space. But we also hide behind screens and we're not always authentic. So I strive to be authentic all the time, to be compassionate and caring. And when I was journaling today, I was just thinking that, our job really is to always be light and love in this world, however that manifests, right? And that's in every kind of situation. Whether it's a relationship, a friendship, a community group, work, whatever you're doing, like the job is to be light and love everywhere you go. But not everybody appreciates that light and love. And some people actively try to extinguish it. They just, they are jealous of it, or they resent it because they can't bring it, or they don't understand it. So they'll try to put your light out, but your candle is one of those, like, you remember those birthday candles? I think they still have them, where you try to blow it out and it doesn't blow out, like the trick candles you get at Spencer's, right? Like, your candle is your candle, and people can blow it out and you can light it back up. So that's your journey. That's your main path. And if you're on a blue blaze that doesn't meet your highest good, or doesn't align with what goals you have in life, then hike back to that main trail and keep moving on the main trail. So let's get a rune reading out, shall we? I'm going to just take a little sip of my iced tea. I would love for you to like and subscribe, of course. And I would love to hear your experience, what trail you're on, what blue blazes you're on that bring you meaning and hope and light and love. Or even if you have a blue blaze that didn't work out so well. All right, let's get out the runes. So, for those of you who are new, this is my rune bag. These are runes from Scotland. This is a Celtic channel where I talk about Celtic spirituality. But everybody is welcome here. So I'm Christian, following the tradition and teaching of Saint John. But all are welcome here, and any practice. So the first stone, I lay out some stones that just help me to kind of center my space, and I actually cleansed all my stones today. This is my newest stone, and this is, I call my Mary stone, for my friend Mary, who passed too young from cancer. Just as a reminder that we have champions on the other side, right? Halloween was her favorite holiday, and Samhain. Samhain is Halloween. So this is a green man stone, and it just reminds me that we are connected to the natural world. I have some marble from Scotland, just as a reminder of our ancestors, and those, marble and rock, stones and rock, they've been around before all of us, and they will be here after we all leave, right? So rocks are very, very important to me. This is the St. Bridget's Cross. My spirit team includes sort of St. Bridget driving the chariot, and along with Archangel Michael and Columba and St. Patrick, St. Columba, St. Patrick, St. Teresa of Lisieux, and Mary, Jesus, and my spirit guide Seth and Adam. I have some rocks from the Isle of Iona, which is where I went for my 50th birthday. One is one I picked, and one is one I bought. That was picked there by somebody else, just as a reminder to support local culture. And then I have a stone from Iceland, and I have an angel just to remind me of Archangel Michael and all the other archangels too. But just as a reminder that we are always being loved and helped by the other side. And then I have a seal that came from a friend of mine, just as a reminder of earthly friends and people here that are our champions. All right, so what we do is we put our energy in. You can make rune stones. Like, don't spend $1 bazillion online, right? You can get them on Amazon, you can get them anywhere, but you can make them too, and you can just pick stones out and you can carve them, or you can draw on them. So we're going to ask for one stone. This message may not resonate with me. It may not resonate with you. No worries. Just leave it behind for somebody else. This is a general reading, so we read a runestone, and then we have some oracle cards that go with it. So I kind of feel around in the bag to, find one that kind of gets stuck in my fingers or feels different than the others. Sometimes that happens right away. Sometimes it takes a minute. But what is the stone that we need to read for our highest good? What is something that we should reflect on for somebody watching this video? Okay, so we have this one. Just stuck it there. And we have Wunjo. Some pronounce it Wunjo. I pronounce it Wunjo. And it means joy. It's a beautiful stone. It's a beautiful idea, right? It's joy and happiness. And sometimes, you don't always feel joy, and you're like, well, what does that mean? I don't feel very happy. Why am I getting the Wunjo stone? Well, because it's to call in happiness. It's to call in joy. So I keep a book where I've written all my notes about each stone. I collect it from a lot of different sources. The Elder Futhark alphabet, which is what I read, was not ever intended to be a divination tool. It was actually an alphabet used to mostly make grave markers and things like that. It was a language. We use it as a divination tool for about the last 500 years, but it wasn't created that way. So it means pleasure, comfort, harmony, prosperity, reward, success, joy, harmony, protection, perfection, reflections of our actions, family and relationships, we are never alone, bonding, shared ideals, good blessings, happiness, love, and goodness. What a great message. So if you're not feeling that energy, it's just a reminder that that energy is there, right? So, when you're on your journey, if you've ever hiked, I like hiking down stuff. Other people like hiking up stuff. I like it when it's flat and not rocky, right? But, to get to wherever you're going, to get to that beautiful vista, I'm a water feature person. So I like waterfalls, lakes, ponds, things like that. I love looking for turtles. And I love to sit by a creek. Nothing's better than sitting by a creek and, eating your sandwich, right? So to get there, sometimes it's hot and it's gross and there's bugs and these black flies that in Maine that bite you, and and it's torture. And I live in the rockiest part of Pennsylvania, so it's like literally there's nowhere you can walk where something's not stabbing you in the foot, right? So you're walking and it's like torture, and it just is such a struggle. But then you get there and it's like, this is great. Sometimes you get there and it's not great because you can't see, or the waterfall's dried up because there's been no rain, right? But you're in nature, you're celebrating, you're connecting with nature, and it is what you make of it, right? So There are all kinds of changes going on, and like I always say, the course of human history, there has always been drama, and there has always been angst and fear and things going on in the world. That's been true forever. Ever since the first cave people started fighting over a, I don't know, a buffalo or whatever they did, right? So your happiness comes from your heart and it comes from inside. So what gets you up a mountain is your own willpower to get up the mountain. And if you're in a funk, if you're feeling joyless, think about the things that bring you joy. Being with my family brings me tremendous joy. Like I love being with my children, my husband, even my mother-in-law. I went to J.C. Penney today with her. I hate shopping, but I like to make her happy, and so she likes to shop. So I took her there. Right, think about the things that make you happy, and even in the midst of chaos, like right now, we have a home on the barrier in on the Tangier Sound in the Chesapeake Bay, which is a barrier island in the lower Chesapeake, and we just got hit by a nor'easter, which is a horrible, horrible storm. And there's just flooding everywhere. And these little barrier islands, Smith Island, Deal Island, Tangier Island, they're hardworking people, and the flooding, the water's rising, the islands are sinking. Holland Island, which is, 50 years ago had church and schools and everything else, is now completely underwater because of the rising water. So, you think to yourself, like, I have to check and see if there's any damage and how much flooding happened on the island and all this stuff. And you're thinking to yourself, in the midst of this chaos, how can there be joy? Well, it is hard sometimes to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and think about how to be joyful. But joy gets us through it, right? Joy helps us get through it and to remember what we're happy about and what we're working for, right? So if you're in a relationship and you've had an argument, like you're upset because you love this person and you don't want to argue with them and you want to be in a good place, right? You want there to be joy. If you're in a bad situation, let's say you're in a hard class, or you're in a you're my son just started a new job and it's really hard and he's struggling, like remembering the things that are good about it. Our culture often focuses on the negative, but we want to flip it and think about all the things that are positive, and the positive opportunities that are presented. Now, I'm a firm believer that when a door closes, a window opens. God has a divine plan for each and every one of us, and so, and whatever your higher power is, whether you believe in God or something else, or nothing at all, your higher self, maybe that's what you believe in, there's a better plan. There's always a blue blaze, but then always bringing back to central, to that central main path. So let's take a look at some cards to see what goes with Wunjo. So we ask for Spirit to clarify. We use the oracle cards just as a clarification. Rune stones do not predict the future. Like I said, they were a language, and then we adopted them as a divination tool, but they don't predict the future because you have free will. And whatever belief system you have, whether you're Christian or not, your higher power, whatever you believe in, is perfectly fine. So we use the cards just as ways to think about the stone that they pulled. So we ask Spirit. I shuffle 3 times, knock 3 times, blow 3 times, and then I will deal 3 times, and we ask Spirit if there's anything the Spirit wants to say to go along with the Wunjo stone. Then we ask that it come out. If nothing comes out, that means nothing was meant. That these weren't a way that Spirit wanted to communicate with us. So that's pass 1. Pass 2. And oh, this all fell on the floor. Oh, pass 3. So when they fall on the floor, 2 of them had come out together. So I want to make sure that I get the 2 that came out together. And then the third one, I think these 2 go together. This is the third one. All right. Ha, how fun. All right. So the first one that came out was the Maiden, which is innocence, love, and past. So we got this card the other day when we did our reading, and I felt that way, and I feel this way, that what this card is about is that you've recently learned a lesson that maybe sometimes spirit has to really teach us a lesson a few times, right? We have to go through something a few times to get it, right? Like, practice driving, right? Like you have to drive a few times to actually get driving, right? And so, like if you if you had a charmed life, or if you had an innocence about you, and then you learned some lessons because people weren't kind to you, or people were kind to you but then were stabbing you in the back, and you kind of learned, that hurt, and that heart hurt, because you might have a really good nature, and people coming at you, and just trying to undermine you, or to trash your name, or say bad things about you, or whatever, talk smack about you, whatever, right? There was an innocence about you, and you're out there loving and loving and loving, and maybe something happened, right? But that's in the past. You're not that innocent wee one anymore, right? You've learned lessons, and so joy comes from having an innocence about you, and having that curiosity of a child, but you also have wisdom, and wisdom brings experience. And in the past, you might have been innocent, but now you're learning, right? You're learning to use like the right shoes on this. Like, we're going to go with the hiking theme because that's what I do. When I first started hiking, I would wear, like these combat boots things, and I would get all these blisters. And then somebody told me, like, you need to be wearing like trail runners, like you need to be wearing shoes meant for hiking. I had to learn that. I was innocent, and I had to learn that. I loved hiking. I loved doing it, but I wasn't having a lot of joy getting stabbed by rocks. I still get stabbed by rocks, but now I have decent hiking shoes that stick to the rocks, right? So there's that love. Then these two came out together, and this is the Green Fairy, which is mischief, freedom, and reckless. This is the fun. This is the fun card, along with Master of the Hunt, speed, masculinity, and flow. And with joy, that's the Green Fairy. The Green Fairy is the mischievous one, the fun one. She's the fun, fun, fun one, right? So it's just telling you to have a little bit of fun. Like, I'm a very serious person, like as like fun as I appear, right? And as jovial as I am, I'm a very serious person. I'm a very deep thinker. I think all the time. And sometimes spirit will like smack me in the head and say, BRG, you need to have more fun. You need to just have fun, like doing things that are fun. Like, you don't have to be thinking deep and serious all the time. Have some fun. And go with the flow. Like, go with the flow. Like, there's nothing wrong with having fun. There's nothing wrong with being joyful. In our society, we often we gravitate toward the non-joyful things, right? The complaining, the kibitzen, right? We don't gravitate to joy. But like, what are our biggest holidays? Our biggest holidays are like at Christmas time or Hanukkah, like giving gifts and decorating and creating the Hallmark version of joy, right? Samhain, which is Halloween. People get dressed up and they go trick or treating and they have candy, and there's parties and it's fun, and people get to be other, pretend to be other people, and they get to forget life for a while. What are they trying to do? They're trying to create joy, right? St. Patrick's Day, I play with the bagpipes, right? So St. Patrick's Day, bagpipes, by the way, are Scottish. They're not, the ones I play are Scottish, not Irish, but I play at a lot of Irish bars, because people want joy. People have to have an excuse to have joy. And Spirit's saying you don't need an excuse. You can have joy even in the midst of chaos. If you're, even if your house is flooded and your roof is coming off, you can still find joy. Find joy in those moments. Third card here is Shaman Spiral, which is awareness, practice, and connection. And we got this the other day too. And that's that walking stick, right? She's not doing things by herself. Joy, we could all sit by ourselves and be joyful. But joy is better when it's spread, right? Spread your joy. Get joy from others. There's this great, I think I see him on Facebook. And he does the reels. And he's a teacher in I say Louisiana, New Orleans, something like that. And he teaches kindergarten theater, like elementary school theater, and he does these clips every day called "Find Your Joy." He is just phenomenal. He's funny. I can't remember his name, but he's so funny. And I mean I think because I'm a teacher, but also because I'm a mother and I have kids, and he's just really funny. And he of course he's theatrical because he's teaches theater. But he's always talking about find your joy. Spirit's telling you, find your joy. Even in the midst of chaos, you know, find your joy. I mean, if you've ever watched the movie Christmas Vacation, and Clark Griswold goes bananas and he's like, give me the title. Find your joy. There's joy right around the corner, and it's up to you, to help, get back on the trail that'll get you to joy. All right, let's look at our other deck of cards. We have the Earth Wisdom. These other cards are Celtic Spirit Oracle by Nicola McIntosh. And then these are Earth Wisdom Oracle by Barbara Moore and Christina Scagliotti, who did the artwork on there. I'm not sure who did the artwork on there. I think Nicola does her own artwork. But I use these two decks. I have lots and lots of decks. And I don't know, do you think, would you for those of you who are into this kind of thing, would you like a deck review? I have, I knocked first before shuffling. I could go through all my other decks. These are the two that I read from all the time. Take them with me everywhere I go. And, and I love them, but I'm happy to look at other decks and because other decks may resonate with you. Sometimes I don't know, these decks always I have other decks and they're beautiful. The artwork's tremendous, but for whatever reason, these two decks, these are my decks. They're getting worn though. I think one of them has a ripped card in it. I don't know how that happened, but I use them a lot. That's why. All right, 3 passes to see if anything, Spirit wants to say anything through these cards. Pass 1. Pass 2. Pass 3. We only got 1 card here. Oh, yep. Divine Love. We got this the other day too. The cards are consistent. You're loved. Right? You're loved. And no matter what's going on, I know life is hard. Life is tough. And some things are out of our control. Sometimes you're set onto a blue blaze and you weren't expecting it. Sometimes your friends want to go down a blue blaze and you're like, I don't want to see the beaver dam. I don't want to walk through that mud. Sometimes, there's a lot of reasons we go off on the side trails. But your core, your inner self, that's the main trail. Right. And you can always decide, like Frost said, to go back and visit a trail. You get to pick the pathways that you take. Take the one that leads to joy. You can do it. Even when things are hard, you can still do it. You can still have joy in your heart. And, not every moment. I mean, obviously, we're human. That's not going to be every second of every day. But find your joy. I wish I could remember that guy's name. I'm going to try to find it, and then I'll link him below, because he really is funny. And if you need a dose of cuteness, he does this thing called, like, I think he does it at the end of the week, like top 3 funny things that kids say to him. So adorable, so funny. But then in the summer he does fun stuff too. And like he and his husband, I think, go on a lot of cruises or whatever. So he talks about that stuff too. It's great. It really is a great channel. Gregisms. That's it. His name is Greg. All right. So find your joy. Know what your path is. Try to understand when you're on a blue blaze. But at the end of the day, find your joy, because your joy produces more light. And our job is to bring light and love into this world. People are going to come after you. People are going to try to turn out your light. And just, light it back up. Don't worry about them. What they think of you, their opinion of you, it doesn't matter. If they think that you're a great person or not a great person, if they think you're lazy or stupid or whatever, fat, ugly, whatever it is they think of you, don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about their energy. You only ever have to worry about your own. So I thank you so much for spending time with me. I am wishing you all the very best and brightest. If you would, please like and make a comment below, because that helps with me with the algorithm. And I am wishing you all the best and brightest. Be well. Take care. Bye-bye.